From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. Radio Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on shortwave broadcast through the facilities of the United States Agency for Global Media, or Voice of America, on the following shortwave frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. I'm your host, Leo Magpayo, and this is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday joined Filipinos in welcoming the Year of the Fire Horse, calling on the nation to match optimism with discipline and deliberate action to sustain the country's momentum. In his Lunar New Year message, the president said, "The horse symbolizes movement, courage, and forward motion, while the fire element represents energy and drive." But he emphasized that progress cannot rely on symbolism alone. President Marcos said the nation moves forward when Filipinos show up for work, when families manage their resources wisely, and when government and industry make sound decisions that turn daily effort into long-term growth. The chief executive noted that the Lunar New Year has long been a season of renewal for many Filipino families and businesses, a time to set priorities and pursue sustainable prosperity. Prosperity, he said, is something built through everyday discipline, strengthened when it creates jobs and supports communities. The president urged Filipinos to move with purposeful haste, swift when necessary, measured when it matters most, stressing that while momentum inspires, direction ultimately determines results. He also underscored the need to protect fair opportunity, ensure reliable public services, and strengthen productivity, value chains, and inclusive communities. President Marcos said that by keeping standards high and staying firmly on course, the country can shape a more prosperous, agile, and empowered new Philippines. The Lunar New Year remains widely celebrated across the Philippines, especially in Filipino-Chinese communities, with traditions centered on family gatherings, cultural festivities, and prayers for good fortune.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is calling for the nationwide expansion of precast housing facilities to accelerate the rollout of the government's expanded Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino, or 4PH program. Speaking at the 4PH milestone event at the 7th anniversary celebration of the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, or DSUD, at the Megawide Precast Plant in Taytay, Rizal Province, the president highlighted the importance of modern construction technology in delivering quality, affordable homes at a faster pace. President Marcos toured the facility, which manufactures precast walls, slabs, beams, and columns used in Pag-ibig-funded 4PH projects. The chief executive said precast construction shortens building timelines and reduces the waiting period for families seeking permanent housing. From July 2022 to January 2026, the administration has completed and financed more than 423,000 housing units under various modalities.
Ang pagbisita natin sa precast plant na ito ay isang hakbang patungo sa pagbuo ng mga tahanan sa ating bansa gamit ang makabagong teknolohiya. Dito po ay atin natunghayan ang isang napakahalagang proseso kung paano mas mapabilis ang produksyon ng mga housing unit. At layunin natin na ang bawat Pilipino ay magkaroon ng bahay na ligtas, na disente at abot kaya. Gagawin po namin ang lahat ng aming kakayahan upang hindi lamang itong plantang itong nakikita ninyo ngayon, kung hindi madagdagan pa at maparami pa upang mapabilis ang konstruksyon at maparami ang aming maibibigay na tahanan.
Ceremony, the president also led the symbolic turnover of keys to beneficiaries of vertical and horizontal housing projects in Nueva Ecija, Rizal, Caloocan, Cavite, Pampanga, and Occidental Mindoro. Certificates of lot award and certificates of entitlement were likewise distributed. The event also marked the unveiling of the pilot UP Rental Housing Project inside the UP Diliman campus, expanding 4-page coverage to rental housing. DSUD Secretary Jose Ramon Aliling said the expanded 4-page now includes vertical, horizontal, community mortgage, rental housing, and proclamation areas to better serve diverse sectors. Pag-ibig Fund Chief Executive Officer Marilina Costa added that the agency continues to support modern construction technologies, noting its 10 billion peso investment in Megawide preferred shares to help build more than 7,000 housing units in Cavite Province. Pag-ibig released a record 140.54 billion pesos in housing loans in 2025, assisting over 90,000 members.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Monday said Senators Ronald Bato de la Rosa and Christopher Bongo could undergo the same legal process faced by former President Rodrigo Duterte before the International Criminal Court or ICC if arrest warrants are issued. In a press briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro stressed that the government will follow the law, noting that the ICC proceedings naming De La Rosa, Go, and several former officials as alleged co-perpetrators stem from cases filed in 2017. Castro said the administration cannot interfere with the ICC process, emphasizing that the complaint predates President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s term. The ICC Office of the Prosecutor has tagged 8 current and former officials in alleged crimes linked to the Duterte administration's anti-drug campaign. Duterte has been detained at the ICC Detention Center in The Hague since March 11, 2025 on charges of crimes against humanity. He is set to appear in a confirmation hearing on February 23rd after being declared fit to stand trial. Castro reiterated that the Marcos administration will adhere to due process, including any implementation of arrest warrants through Interpol. Procedures, she said, were followed in Duterte's case.
Okay. Kung ito naman ay legal process na nanggagaling po sa ICC, hindi naman po natin ito maaaring pakialaman dahil ang kasong yan ay naisampa noon pa 2017 at hindi pa po Pangulo si Pangulo Marcos Jr. So kung dadaan sa proseso, yan naman po ang nais ng pamahalang ito. Ang ginagawa ng pamahalang ito ay dumadaan lahat sa proseso.
The government maintains that the ICC no longer has jurisdiction over the Philippines. Castro noted that alleged offenses committed when the country was still a member may be treated differently. She added that authorities are not monitoring the whereabouts of those named as no warrants have been issued. Castro dismissed claims that the case is being used to divert attention from other issues, saying the complaint long predates the current administration. She urged Duterte supporters to remain calm and allow the legal process to proceed, adding that those accused should not go into hiding.
Hindi po dapat i-encourage ni Numan na magkagulo kung nagsisilbi lamang po ng valid warrant of arrest. Muli, ang kaso na isinampa, kung meron naman pong batayan, ay dapat lamang po madinggin. Para malaman natin, pareho naman po ito magiging hustisya sa dalawang panig. Hustisya sa mga di umanong naging biktima ng EJK, ng extrajudicial killings, at ito ay magsisilbi ring hustisya para doon sa naaakusahan kung mapapakita niyang wala naman siyang kinalaman at wala siyang kasalanan, maaaring magkaroon ng acquittal sa nasabing kaso. Unang-una, kung kayo magtatago, ano bang ibig sabihin yan? Kayo ba'y may kasalanan? Tinatago nyo para hindi po kayo madinig at ma-escape kayo or ma-evade the liability of what you had done. So, hindi po kinakailangan magtago kung alam po nila na sila'y walang kasalanan, humarap sila at maging matapang sa mga maaaring proseso.
Rosa has not been seen publicly for months, while Go remains active and has previously denied involvement.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, Malacañang said the Department of Education or DepEd's proposals to shift the country's schools to a trimester system remains under review, with the palace emphasizing that more study and wider consultations are needed before any decision is made. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the DepEd has only begun presenting the potential benefits of a trimester academic calendar, and the idea is still in the discussion stage. Castro noted that the administration wants a thorough assessment before considering any shift, saying a deeper and more immediate study is necessary to determine if the proposal should move forward.
Ito'y proposal pa lamang po at inilalahad nila ang maaaring advantage ng pagkakaroon ng trimester ng DepEd, na isinusulong ng DepEd. Nandun pa lang po sa stage ng pagpo-propose. So, mas mainam na mas maagaran pang pag-aaral ang gawin kung dapat itong i-implement.
Of concerned teachers, Castro agreed that broader consultations with stakeholders would help shape the best program for students. The DepEd earlier floated the trimester setup as part of ongoing reforms aimed at improving learning outcomes and addressing challenges tied to the current school calendar.
Mas maganda naman po talaga na pinag-uusapan lahat ito ng mga stakeholders, ng mga interested parties, lahat po, para po ma-reach out, ma-reach yung pinakamagandang programa para sa ating mga kabataan.
Palace Press Officer, Attorney Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Still on Monday, Malacañang is urging both the Philippines and China to keep diplomacy a two-way street, as sharp exchanges continue between Filipino officials and the Chinese embassy over tensions in the West Philippine Sea. The palace issued the reminder after the Chinese embassy warned that political attacks on Ambassador Jing Quan and calls for his replacement could threaten millions of Filipino jobs. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro reiterated President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s earlier position, rejecting proposals to declare the Chinese envoy persona non grata. Castro stressed, however, that the rising tensions cannot be blamed on just one side, saying both Manila and Beijing must work to maintain friendly discussion and healthy dialogue anchored on mutual respect.
Una binanggit na po ng Pangulo nung tinanong tayo mismo, kayo po nagtanong sa atin, kung ang issue tungkol sa pag-declare ng persona non grata. Ang sabi po ng Pangulo dyan, hindi na kailangan tapusin ang question mula sa media dahil ang sagot niya po ay no. Hindi po kinakailangan palitan. Ang pag-escalate ng tension sa pagitan po ng China at Pilipinas, hindi po ito dapat na nagmumula sa isang bansa. Ang ang pagsaalang-alang sa friendly discussion at sa healthy dialogue ay dapat nagbumula sa dalawang bansa. Hindi lamang mula sa Pilipinas, hindi lamang mula sa China. Dapat ito po ay dalawang bansa ang nagpupursige para magkaroon po ng mutual respect sa bawat isa.
Remarks came amid an intensifying war of words following repeated maritime confrontations in the West Philippine Sea. Over the past year, Philippine authorities have reported incidents of water cannoning, dangerous maneuvers, shadowing, and blocking by Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia vessels against Philippine missions inside the country's exclusive economic zone. China continues to assert its sweeping claim over nearly the entire South China Sea, claims invalidated by the 2016 arbitral ruling under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. Beijing rejects the decision, while Manila maintains it is final and binding. Despite the heated exchanges, Malacañang said engagement remains essential, adding that the Philippines will continue asserting its sovereign rights and maritime entitlements under international law.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has ordered the further strengthening of HIV prevention efforts nationwide. Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro said the directive reflects the Chief Executive's continued support for all government health programs. Castro also presented the latest Department of Health, or DOH, data in response to the President's order, highlighting expanded HIV services available to persons living with HIV. According to Castro, there are now 338 DOH-designated HIV care facilities offering free services, including HIV screening, antiretroviral therapy and counseling, combination prevention methods, and viral load testing. Of these facilities, 186 are located in Luzon, 77 in the Visayas, and 75 in Mindanao. Evidence, she said, of the wide availability of HIV care across the country.
Batay sa ulat ng DOH, mayroong 338 DOH-designated HIV care facilities ang pwedeng magbigay ng libreng HIV services alinsunod sa utos ng Pangulo na patatagin ang HIV prevention at suporta para sa persons living with HIV. Sa mga pasilidad na ito, libre ang mga sumusunod: HIV screening, antiretroviral therapy at counseling, HIV combination prevention methods, at viral load testing. Bukas din ang DOH facilities kasama na ang 186 sa Luzon, 77 sa Visayas at 75 sa Mindanao. Suportado ng Pangulo ang anumang programa na naglalayong pangalagaan ang kalusugan ng taumbayan.
Was Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
And news from the Philippine Senate, Philippine Senator Risa Ontiveros expressed confidence that the proposed Anti-Political Dynasty Act can move forward before the current session ends, following a series of nationwide public consultations. Speaking during the fourth consultative meeting in Marilao, Bulacan Province, Ontiveros said inputs gathered from earlier sessions in Pasig, Calamba, and Bacolod are now being consolidated into a committee report. She noted that the Senate panel remains on track with its target timeline, aiming to advance the measure within the session or by late March. Ontiveros, who chairs the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms, said the consultations have surfaced key policy questions lawmakers must resolve before finalizing the bill. Among the major issues, the degree of consanguinity to be covered, whether the ban should apply to both national and local positions, how party list seats will be treated, and whether restrictions should apply to consecutive terms, simultaneous posts, or both. While her version of the bill proposes a prohibition up to the fourth degree of consanguinity, Ontiveros emphasized that the priority is to craft a measure that is meaningful and enforceable. She added that even if the final version ends up narrower than ideal, Congress can strengthen the law in future sessions once its implementation is assessed.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, a new nationwide survey shows that most Filipinos continue to view bribery as the most common form of corruption in the country. According to the latest Tugon ng Masa survey conducted by Octa Research and commissioned by the Office of the Ombudsman, 73% of adult Filipinos identified bribery as the top corruption issue. The Quarter 4 survey, held from December 3rd to the 11th, 2025, also found that irregularities in the use of public funds followed at 66%, vote buying at 64%, and slow justice at 54%. Octa noted that these four concerns consistently appeared across regions and socio-economic groups, highlighting the structural nature of corruption nationwide. While bribery ranked first in most areas, the second-ranked concern varied by region. Some parts of Luzon and the Visayas pointed to the misuse of public funds, while vote buying emerged as the leading issue in sections of Eastern Visayas and Mindanao, reflecting local political and administrative conditions. Across income groups, bribery remained top concern. Octa said its prominence may stem from its visibility in everyday transactions with government offices, where many Filipinos may have directly encountered or observed informal payments. Higher income respondents in Class ABC were more likely to cite irregularities in public funds and procurement. Middle-income respondents in Class D showed similar patterns, though vote buying ranked ahead of slow justice. Meanwhile, lower-income respondents in Class E placed stronger emphasis on vote buying and delays in the justice system. The report concludes that anti-corruption efforts must combine broad institutional reforms such as stronger oversight, clearer procedures, and digitalization, with targeted measures addressing region-specific risks and community-level concerns. Octa's survey was conducted through face-to-face interviews with 1,200 respondents nationwide and carries a ±3% margin of error at a 95% confidence level.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service can be heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. Radyo Pilipinas World Service is also live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.